Enfield horror. During the early 1970s, something horrible stalked the small town of Enfield, Illinois. The bizarre string of events that would eventually stir the small Illinois town of Enfield into a frenzy of fear began on the chilly night of April 25, 1973, when a young boy named Greg Garrett claimed to have been attacked by a truly bizarre beast while playing in his backyard. The child described the being as having no less than 3 legs, grayish, slimy skin, short claws, and reddish eyes. The creature apparently stamped on the boy's feet with its own 3-clawed, foot-like appendages, tearing his tennis shoes to shreds. Greg, crying hysterically, wasted no time scurrying away from the fiend and back into the relative safety of his parents' house. Although young Greg's encounter was technically the first on record, the one that brought this creature to notoriety came just a half hour later when the Garrett's neighbor, one Henry McDaniel, and his family had their own face-to-face encounter with this unbelievable entity. At about 9:30 p.m. that night, McDaniel and his wife had returned home and were greeted by their 2 children, Lil and Henry. The kids proceeded to tell him a tale about how something had tried to get into the house by scratching on the door. Shortly thereafter, Henry was alerted to a peculiar scratching sound at his front door. He expected to see a dog or a cat, but what he met instead was far stranger. What Henry found, to his terror, was a creature that had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It stood 4.5 feet tall and was grayish colored. Henry was completely mortified by the sight of this horrible apparition, slammed the door, and rushed to grab his .22mm pistol and a flashlight. Henry proceeded to fire on the creature 4 times, and according to him, he hit it. The beast hissed at him and proceeded to bound away in long leaps across the yard, eventually becoming lost to McDaniel's sight as it made its way towards the railroad and the cover of the trees. He asserted that he had seen the thing cover 50 feet in 3 leaps. Stunned by the encounter, Henry proceeded to call the police. Upon investigation, the state troopers discovered a series of scratches in the siding of the house and footprints that were very similar to a dog's, but having 6 toes instead of 4. 2 of the tracks were 4 inches wide, while the print left by the 3rd foot was smaller. Many on the police force were skeptical about what McDaniel had seen, despite having just received news of an attack on a small boy just 30 minutes earlier. However, the police couldn't find any trace of the entity, so things cooled down for the moment. A week later, on May 6th, at 3 a.m., Henry encountered the creature again after having been roused from his sleep by the commotion from his neighbor's dogs. Once again, he saw the creature loitering about near the train tracks. This went on for several minutes until the entity casually bounced away into the night. He said he did not shoot at it this time, as it was not in a hurry or anything. A search party led by Rick Rainbow, a news director of a local radio station, explored the area later that day and reported seeing an ape-like creature in an abandoned building near McDaniel's house. They claimed to have recorded the creature's cries and fired a shot at it before it ran away. That was the last time anyone would ever report seeing the Enfield horror. To this day, the Enfield horror remains one of the most intriguing and puzzling mysteries that has been recorded. What was it? Where did it come from? Where did it go? Was it real or a hoax? Was it a product of mass hysteria or social contagion? These questions are still unanswered and may never be solved. Pigman of Northfield. The story of the Pigman begins in 1951, when a 17-year-old boy named Sam Harris went missing in Northfield, Vermont. Sam was a rebellious teenager who liked to cause mischief and prank his neighbors. On the night before Halloween, he went out with some eggs to vandalize some houses, but he never returned home. His parents reported him missing, and a massive search was launched, involving hundreds of locals and police officers. They searched for weeks, but they never found any trace of Sam. Some people speculated that Sam had run away from home, or that he had been kidnapped or killed by someone. But others had a more sinister theory, that Sam had encountered something evil in the woods that night, something that either devoured him or transformed him into a monster. They said that Sam had stumbled upon an ancient ritual site where Satanists or witches performed sacrifices and summoned demons. They said that Sam had either been possessed by the devil himself, or that he had been attacked by a beast that wore his skin and his face. Whether Sam Harris became the Pig Man or not, the legend of the creature soon spread throughout Northfield and beyond. People claimed to have seen a strange figure lurking in the woods near Devil's Washbowl, a natural pond surrounded by cliffs and caves. The figure was described as being naked, covered in white hair, and wearing a hollowed-out pig's head over his own. The Pig Man was said to have a taste for pork and would slaughter pigs from nearby farms and eat their entrails. The first reported sighting of the Pig Man was in 1971, when a group of high school students were drinking behind the school during a dance. They saw a creature emerge from the trees on two legs, carrying a bloody pig's head in one hand and a knife in the other. The students ran away in terror and told their friends what they had seen. Soon after, a farmer reported that some of his pigs had been killed and mutilated in the night. More sightings followed over the years, mostly by teenagers who ventured into the woods at night to look for the Pig Man or to party. Some said they heard his squeals and grunts, or saw his glowing eyes in the dark. Some said they found his footprints or his lair, where he kept bones and skulls of his victims. Some said they were chased or attacked by him, but managed to escape. Some said they saw him with his pig children, who looked like deformed humans with snouts and tusks. A post on Reddit, dated to 2015, throws light towards an alleged Pig Man encounter from the 80s, experienced by a family member. According to the story, hearing legends of the foul creature, this person's older sister and her friends, who were seniors in high school at the time, decided to conduct a stakeout in the Devil's Washbowl. There were 8 people total, coupled up, that planned on camping in the local caves for an evening, hoping to experience something. They assigned one couple per cave to maximize their coverage of the area. As it turns out, while this person's sister and boyfriend were setting up their cave campsite, they heard screaming from one of the other caves nearby. They dropped what they were doing and rushed to the scene, only to find their friend curled up in a corner of the cave, scared out of her wits. Their friend was hysterical, screaming that her boyfriend was just dragged off by Pig Man only moments before they arrived. Apparently it waltzed in, unfazed by their shouts and attempts to scare it off. The creature grabbed a rock from the cave floor and smashed it over the boyfriend's head and dragged him away. It's unclear whether this blow killed the young man or merely knocked him out. This was confirmed from spotting the rock, dropped by the Pig Man, which was covered in blood. The girls ran to the cars so they could rush to the police to report what happened. Meanwhile, the rest of the boys gathered their flashlights and makeshift weapons to hunt down the Pig Man and avenge their friend, but quickly lost the trail. Allegedly, search parties by the police K9 unit also could not locate the kidnapped high school senior. A couple days later, they found the boys' torn up clothes at a nearby abandoned farmhouse, and after that the trail went cold. To this day, the boy was never found. To date, the Northfield Pig Man has never been caught on camera or otherwise. There are also many tall tales and conflicting information about the story of this creature. Some believe it's just a local story to scare young children from not going out at night or to not get into mischief during Halloween. The whole story could very well be a hoax, but if you do find yourself in the Devil's Washbowl, in the dark woods of Northfield, Vermont, beware.